Hi, this is Jack Fleming from Janesville, Wisconsin. Jack used to work for the Milwaukee Road through Brodhead. Jack, why don't you tell us a little about what you did and when you hired on?
Okay, in 1956 I hired out in Beloit, Wisconsin. One of the first trips I made was from Beloit to Sturtevant on the way freight. In 1962 I was not working very much, so they called me for a job out of Brodhead. We tied up right over here. When I came there, the engine and the caboose was sitting there.
Was there an engine house over there or what?
No, no engine house here. At one time they tied what you call the pickle track down there.
Right, okay.
And I remember we had 16 cars of cattle for Mineral Point besides the rest. And we went up to Monroe and then we went west. And the guy that come out from Janesville, then he'd go up over what we call the dog wagon, which was right over the crossing here. Mm-hmm. And he went 23 miles up to New Glarus.
Okay, but you were on the train to Mineral Point.
But we were on, and then we go up to Mineral Point, and then on the way back we'd make a side. We go up to, come back to Calamine, and then we go up to Platteville, which was 17 miles.
Okay.
At that time we did not haul gravel. By the end of in the 70s and in late 60s we started hauling gravel. One time we hauled 30. I remember we went out of here in 1963 with 36 cars of cattle. The next day they ran a special train out of Janesville out to Mineral Point. They had over 50 cars of cattle on it.
So who was getting all the cattle?
Kenyans, what they call Kenyans. They take them up there, and there was something in the soil, and they'd feed them up there, and they'd fatten them up, and then they'd truck them out. They'd take them out to the canneries and that.
Okay.
So, but this was here. There was a track here. Then there was cheese over there we got, and we did a lot of business over here at the fertilizer plant. And then around the curve, you had to have a 40-foot boxcar, because if it was a 50-foot boxcar, it blocked the what we call the New Glarus branch. Mm-hmm. Then Roderick was over here, and then there was another track over back here. Well, this was the house track, and then we had in Twin Grove and got lumber and et cetera in there. But Roderick got a lot of coal in that down there.
Coal, as the lumber yard that got coal there?
Coal and lumber, yeah.
Okay. And then who's the cheese factory? Remember how much stuff you did out of the cheese factory?
Oh, not too much at the end there. And then before I came here, there was a pickle factory down here. Then, of course, at Judah, we did fertilizer, and we hauled a lot of machinery in there.
Okay.
And then,
farm machinery.
Farm machinery. Then, of course, Monroe was big cheese, and Moore.
So the cheese would have been like refrigerated boxcars, or
no. We brought ice cars out and we parked them on what we call the stump track up there. Then sometimes we'd put the ice in the bunkers at the end,
okay, or
they would, and then we'd pick them up. The cheese coming east. We hauled a lot of cheese out of there at one time. Then there was a cheese place up over here too. Once in a while we'd get to.
Okay, right. I'm trying to think of the name of that place. Do you remember the name of it, or? That was.
I want to say Baumgartner's, but it was something like that. Yeah,
okay.
It was back on that spur.
No, was that spur off the New Glarus line, or was that separate?
No, that spur you come around the house track over here, and then you'd have to run around them, then shove them up in there.
Okay. Yeah. So this would have been. Did you ever work in the steam era, or was it all diesel?
No. Well, my first trip at Sturtevant, they were taking down the water tower. I hired out in 1956, and most of it around here went in 1955. Although up on the what we call the valley out of New Lisbon to Wausau, they had it till 1960. Then 1965, there was high water at Savannah, and they took the steam and they ran the steam down there. Of course, you could run steam through the water.
Okay. Because the motors wouldn't be down in the water then, okay.
Yeah, you couldn't over 4 inches. If it was over 4 inches on the rail, you couldn't. That's why a lot of times west of Monroe we couldn't run because of the Pecatonica River would flood, especially Darlington and that.
Okay. So what kind of power would you have then on this line through Brodhead?
Well, we had just a little engine here. We had like a 1200. But the other guy, then at the end, then they took the job off, and then we ran from Janesville out to Mineral Point. Then we had like the 508 and the 510,
And those were
1,500 horse.
okay.
Then, well, we'd haul after 3,000 ton out of here. You were struggling.
Okay.
For
Just a single engine you'd have?
just signal engine. Once in a great while, they put another engine on.
Okay. How about like the Fairbanks unit we got next to the depot here? Did you ever run any of those? Or?
You could, but you couldn't run them on the branch lines. So
Why
you
is
couldn't
that?
run up the New Glarus because you had to have 6 wheelers on the branch lines.
Because the track was too light to
Yeah.
handle a four-wheel.
Yeah,
Okay.
see, we couldn't go up to Platteville and that, but that's why you had to, if we had one of those, if we had engine trouble, if we brought those out, then we couldn't run the branch lines there.
Okay. So a typical train through town back in, say, the mid-'60s, how many cars would that have been?
Oh, Lord. Oh, I'd say about 20 or 25. Although during the summertime, there would be nothing to have like 50 because of the gravel between Monroe, Darlington. We'd set out 4 at Gratiot, and then you would have like 20 for Platteville and maybe 7 or 8 for Mineral Point. So.
Okay. And like how many would you typically drop off in Brodhead on a day? Maybe 6 or 8, or?
Oh yeah, maybe not that many at the end. It was farm service over here was the big deal. Yeah,
Fertilizer.
yeah, fertilizer and boxcars. Yeah.
Was there very much freight that originated in Brodhead going out?
No, just a little bit of cheese.
Okay.
See that wasn't down there. That plant down there wasn't there when we were running out here.
Okay. And when did you work right up till the end in 1980 then, or?
1980. In fact, we got a picture. It says the last train. We went to just to Brodhead that day, and that on Saturday. But it wasn't. But they ran some trains. The short line came out here and ran after that.
But you were on the last Milwaukee Road train to
Yes.
Brodhead?
Yes.
You remember the date that was, or?
February 23rd, 1980.
1980. Okay. And we
Yeah.
got some pictures back here.
On a set. It was a Saturday. I take that back, but they ran on a Friday night after that.
Okay. There's some pictures here that claim to be the last train to New Glarus. Is that what you see?
Yes.
there? Tell me about what you're seeing there. What would be in those boxcars?
Those box cars would be going. These are feed cars for Classy. Classy was in New Glarus.
Okay.
In Monticello used to get them too. Monticello would get some cars, and Albany got very, very few cars. See what happened on the New Glarus branch just before I came over here in 1957. Of course, they had the Pet Milk Company up there, and when that folded, that was kind of the end of the line. Then
Do you remember when that folded?
1957.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to haul pigs out of there on Mondays. We'd go up there and we'd get pigs and logs, a lot of logs, and a lot of feed for Classy. And then we'd run around the train, and then we had to shove way up in there. And once in a while, the Pet Milk, something else went in there, and we get cars of tin in there.
Tin going in there.
Tin going in, yeah.
Cans, okay.
Yeah, but it was, or wire, I should say wire, more than tin.
Okay. But you mentioned earlier you're on that train there,
Yes.
and you were inside the caboose.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the last train
Yeah.
eastbound out of New Glarus.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I'll tell you who was in there was Herman Miller, Ole Oldenburg, myself, Mr. Pierce
From Brodhead.
and a woman got on, and they went up. They rode up and back with us. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that would
Dwight Hansen was the engineer, and Lynn Platt was a fireman.
So that's a 5-man crew?
5-man crew at that time. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
tell me about the crew. What were the 5 people have been doing? An engineer and a conductor, what were describe the 5 positions on the typical.
Okay, engineer, conductor, and 2 brakemen
Okay.
at that time. Because that's all changed now.
Yeah.
We're down to an engineer and a conductor. So.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. See, and then when they started tearing it out, we could run one of these Fairbanks up there, and we bring the guns out here, and then we'd take them up so far, and then they was tearing them out, and that was late. I remember it was snow on the ground in 1972 when they were tearing that out.
So you'd push a string of gondola cars up there, and they'd load those up with the track they were tearing out?
Well, we'd have to go up and get their loads first and bring them down here and put them on the siding and take the gondolas up there. And then, of course, they had a big crane, and they'd start in. And then I think 2 or 3 times a week we'd go up there and get them. Okay. Of course, as they tore them out, it got shorter and shorter.
Yeah. How long did it take them to rip all that out?
Oh, 3 months or so. Okay. Yeah, it took them quite a while to tear that out.
Okay.
Tom, man.
All right, we got some pictures here.
This,
I have you comment on.
This picture here we were just talking about the other day. This happened out here. After you go through Judah, then you go up the hill. I think that's KS. And then right there's a bridge. And I think this is a circus train. And Pete Peterson was a fireman on there when, and they were coming down the hill, and they derailed right there on that bridge there, because he always told that story when he would go by it.
That was a circus train they derailed?
It looked like a circus train, maybe not.
That would have been west of Judah?
West of Judah, yeah.
Okay.
About halfway between Judah and Monroe. Now here's some logs here. That was taken probably right over here that they picked up off the, well, we used to put guns right out here to pick these up.
So those have been outbound logs.
Oh.
Now the caption on the back of that says something about going to Japan. Logs for shipment to Japan.
Japan, yeah. Then we'd get out of Monroe once in a while. We'd get hard walnut that went to Germany for pianos. Well, about twice a year we get about 3 or 4 gondolas of them. Yeah. Okay. Rest of these.
I think that's the first Wisconsin Calumet train. Of course, there's passenger cars in there, so I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, this was after, well, like I say, 1980 was the last time I was out here, so that was after that. Now this is when in 1972 when they're tearing out the New Glarus branch. This would have been probably in well, it looks the way they're dressed, probably in the fall when they tore it out. But the guy running this says that was the best branch line they ever tore out, because it was really good shape.
Yeah. It
was 25 miles an hour. There was a stretch out here, maybe 2-3 miles. When they laid it, the angle bars would cross from each other instead of being staggered. So we had to go 15 miles an hour there for about a half a mile there. But that was a good branch line.
25 mile an hour.
We went 25 mile an hour on there. Then, of course, at Monticello, we crossed the IC. There was just a stop sign there, and you had to stop and look, and then proceed if the IC. And once in a great while, you'd hit the IC in the same time, especially when we went up there on Saturdays.
So who had the right of way? Does whoever got there first?
Whoever got there first, and then you'd motion the other guy, to go ahead. Yeah. But they used to run. IC used to run a lot of coal up there for the university. They had all the coal.
And all that was coming out of Freeport, Illinois.
Freeport, yeah. Yeah, then they'd interchange at Madison with the Milwaukee.
You guys didn't do any interchange at Monticello?
No, we didn't have an interchange there, no.
Okay. How about, did you recognize that guy?
Let me put my glasses on in a minute, I think. What year is this, do you know?
It doesn't say. It's diesel though, so.
I'm not sure, but that might be Chipper Chapman. Chipper was out here a lot. Chipper went through the Bataan Death March, and then when he hired out after he got out of the service, and he was out here a lot too. So it might be him.
Okay.
I'll say that. I can't tell you. See, this was 30 mile an hour from Janesville to Monroe, and then it was 25 from Monroe west.
All the way to
Mineral Point. Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite subjects. We ate in a caboose. When Herman Miller was a great cook, and he always made chili on Monday. Of course, we were still eating on Friday. Of course, seeing we switched the cheese factories, what did we get? Free cheese. So we had a lot of grilled cheese and chili. But we went to work at 6:30 in the morning at Mineral Point, and every Wednesday you came down early at 6 o'clock, and we cleaned that caboose out good, because we slept in that caboose and everything. That was our home away from home. Then we painted it, and we paid for the paint ourselves. In fact, we painted the outside. The Milwaukee Road gave us and we'd go along, and we'd be sitting in, the conductor would be out painting, or we'd be going along, there'd be three of us painting, then we'd come to a station, we'd have to get out and do our way freight work. But it was, and talk about way freight, this was what the last way freight, what I call way freight, we unloaded right through here, anything from coffee to coffins. We'd get the cart out, and the conductor would have a big envelope, like, and it'd tell in there, like, Pierce would get, say, a chair, and you unload chairs, and then you spotted over here a regular whole car, and the agent would, when you were gone, he'd fill it and empty it and fill it, and we'd start right at Orfordville a lot of times to go all the way to Platteville. And at that time, each station would have, besides we'd work a car, and then they had a whole car that you spotted too. So that was LCL, what you call, less than carload lots. Okay. So that was quite a deal.
When you used to work on the caboose, was this out and back? You went out one day and came back the next day?
Yeah. Monday you went out, Tuesdays back. Like I say, then we'd go to Platteville on the way, and then Wednesdays out, and then Tuesdays, the guy out of that Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, he went to New Glarus, and then Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, he went to Monroe because of the cheese. So then we'd meet him at Monroe, and we'd give him our cars on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then we come caboose hop down and back in over here, and then of course he'd go by. He's supposed to stay 10 minutes behind us, but a lot of times you look in there, the headlight would be right there. So old Doc Inman was the engineer. He didn't care. So yeah.
But you'd go out on a Monday and you'd spend the night in the caboose?
Yes.
Yeah. Where would you be then when that happened?
At Mineral Point.
Okay.
And we'd spot it right by the depot so we could plug in. And then eventually they put us up in a hotel room up there. But I always liked the caboose. We had a grill. We weren't supposed to have, but we had a grill down there, and we'd grill hot dogs and hamburgers and that. And so, we ate pretty good. Yeah.
Did you customize your caboose at all?
Did we what?
Decorate it in any particular way?
No, we had one of the best. But on the bottom we had it, I remember, white, and on top we had it gray. And of course your toilet was an open toilet, so we had to wash out the toilet. And Mineral Point, it sat like this a little bit up with trackage. So you get in there and you start scrubbing, and of course I get down there and I put the soap down and put a little water in. I'd have, and then Herman, the guy, he'd come along and he'd really spray it down. It smelled good all the time though, and we paid for all that ourselves. So.
And all 5 of the crew members would sleep in that caboose.
No, Herman lived up there, so actually it was just me and the conductor would be in there, and the fireman slept in the depot. And that was quite a depot. Yeah, I know when the summertime was like 90 degrees, that depot would be quite cool inside because it was so thick,
It's all stone.
It's all stone, yeah.
And the caboose was like the one we got out here, one of the
exactly like that, yeah. Yeah.
It could even have been this, or do you
Could-
have the same caboose all the time?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We had assigned cabooses. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you left all your stuff in there. You left all your stuff.
What was some of the unique loads you used to take?
Well, I'd say cattle would be the most unique because we had to have it unloaded in 36 hours after they'd bring them up from Texas. They'd unload them in Kansas City. Then they'd load them up again, and you had them off. You had to have them off because of the law in 36 hours, or you had to feed them. So a lot of times we'd just set out our cars in Monroe. We wouldn't even switch Monroe on like Monday. We just set them out because we had to have those. And it was kind of funny. You'd pull down to a crossing like Calamine, and the truck would back up right to the car and unload the car, and then you pull away from it, and then you had to cut the crossing so to let the traffic go. But one place out there, I remember the cattle never saw. We had to have them before dark because they never saw fences. So we unloaded. They brought out an unloading ramp, and we unloaded right in the field right out there. And they started running, and they'd see those fences, and they'd be jumping around and then. But Mineral Point was a big place. I remember one time we unloaded 25 cars in an hour up there.
And that was 36 hours from Kansas City to Mineral Point.
Yeah, you got to have them off. You had to have them off that thing, or you were in trouble.
So they must have made the trip from Kansas City to Chicago to Janesville pretty quick.
No, they'd set them out at Bardwell, or they'd set them out in Beloit, and then they'd bring them up from Beloit up to Janesville.
Okay.
One of the two, yeah.
You once said you used to haul dried blood.
Dried blood out of Platteville. There was a blood plant up there, and we'd have a boxcar and a covered hopper. And the covered hopper, of course, they put it regular, and in the boxcar they'd have bags of dried blood in there. So
And what was that used for?
that went down out west someplace. And then they went out of business, and then a feed company went in there, and we hauled a lot of feed up there, and then Platteville at the end, we hauled a lot of gravel. In fact, they September 1st, we were supposed to have been out of there, but they set it back to November 1st because we hauled a lot of gravel. In fact, they were going to fix that line up, and we were going to keep hauling gravel. And in Darlington, we hauled a lot of gravel. And I got one more story to tell. And one time the county commissioner jumped me. He said, "Why ain't you guys hauling gravel out to Monroe anymore?" He said, "Why is that?" Well, this was at least 30 years ago. Chink Harnick was his name. He said, "Because it's costing me $25,000 a mile to redo the roads." He said, "Those trucks are tearing them up. You know, that was 4 inches of that asphalt at that time." He said, "If you guys haul on the rail, it'd be better." You know, I'll never forget that. But
So all this gravel you hauled, that was for road making? Or
well, no, for Monroe it was everything. It was Monroe Ready Mix. It was for building and everything up there.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. We used to haul at least 20 cars a trip up there.
Did Knight Manufacturing in town here, the implement maker, did they ever ship out by rail?
That was it. They did, but that was when the short line was here, I think. Yeah, not when we were out here.
Not on the Milwaukee.
No, they were going to come in here, and then see the Milwaukee wanted to get rid of this, and they didn't want any business. Just like Mineral Point, they were going to put a big industry out there. And Milwaukee Road said, "No, don't put it in because we're not going to be here." So they didn't go in.
Was the Schultzberg line around when you started?
It's when I was in that was torn out in 1956, right after I hired out. But I don't even remember that because I was hired out on what we call the Southwestern Division. Yeah. Yeah, I transferred over here October 1st, 1962, on the Mineral Point or on the Madison Division. We talk about derailments one time, especially in the spring, west of Monroe. I remember we were going what we call Camel's Back Curve, which is between Gratiot and South Wayne, and all of a sudden the air went, and we looked out, and she was tipped like that. Well, the train didn't go apart. then we started re-railing, but it was in the mud. So the first 2 cars got over, and then they started derailing the caboose. In fact, we re-railed the caboose ourselves. All we took is a jack and put it up. They're so light, and that. But there was loads of fertilizer and that in there, and then so we got those back on. And 2 weeks later, we went up about 2 miles up the road, and here we derailed again. Fertilizer. Well, we took the engine into Mineral Point, and we was running around a car, and the engine derailed again. So they finally just embargoed it for 3 weeks. I remember we couldn't go west of Monroe until it dried out. But that was about the biggest one. Then one time we were coming back with peanuts and Ole, and all of a sudden the dust started flying, and we had a car. Oh, we had about 30 cars, and about the 15th car derailed. So we took the head in the Gratiot and came back, and my God, we had some planks on there. We was lucky it was empty, and we re-railed it. Well, we got going again, and coming into Orford or Hanover, some kids put some spikes in the switch point at Hanover, and we should have derailed. We didn't. But the ending was when we was going Rockport Road, we hit a car. And I'll never forget, there were some girls in there, and they started walking away, and here the car was starting on fire. So we had to put the fire out, but they just walked away. They weren't too concerned about it. That was Peanuts' birthday. And Peanuts says, "This is the worst birthday I've ever had. We had to go get a drink and set our nerves down after that."
Who was Peanuts?
Peanuts was quite a character. Peanuts was a small guy, very feisty guy, good railroad go. And when I worked with him first was down in Waukesha, and then he came out here in 1966, and he was a conductor out here for a while. Old Peanuts was about 5'7", very feisty guy, but you son of a bees, he'd say, "You son of a bees." He never swore, but then there was a guy by the name of Van Marsh. He lived here in town, and then Joe Wagner lived here, and they in fact, Joe, I was with him when the last trip when he died, and when we pulled in he had a heart attack right on the engine. We ate here that night, and then we were going in, and Joe got real quiet, and we picked up at Hanover, and we got in, and I never forget, when you got into Janesville, you rebound, and once they cleared the track, they pulled the air, and then I'd get off, cut the engine off, and put a handbrake on, and it took them forever. I thought, where the heck are those guys? And finally I heard the brakeman say, he hollered at the fireman, and here comes Joe in, and Joe sat down, his eyes were sinking, he sat next to me, and he said, I'm going to lay off. Well, we got him down to Pearl Street, and we unloaded him into an ambulance. Well, then the brakeman said, "Let's go up to the hospital and see what's going on." And I'll never forget, the nurse come out and said, "What religion is he?" And I said, "By God, I don't know." But he died. He died of a heart attack. Yeah, he was quite a character. He used to go over here and get 2/5 when he went to work right away. But you'd never know it when he worked. You could never smell it on him, and he never slurred his words. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of characters out here.
Anybody else from Brodhead that you remember?
Well, there was a section, Jack Beck lived here. Well, he lived in Brodhead, and then Bloomer, and then Mac lived here too. Mac McGinsey was his name. He had a pipe. Never forget, when he lived right around the corner here, and we'd be coming into town, he'd be going home, he had a lunch bucket under his thing, he'd be smoking his pipe, yeah. Oh yeah. And then, of course, they had a section crew for the branch line then, too.
Okay. Who was the station agent here?
Well, Herbie Ripp was. Then Herbie had a heart attack and died real sudden. Then Gus was. Gus was quite a big guy. And Gus, he'd go at least 250, and he was about 6'4". And then he went from here, he went to Janesville, and the last time I saw him, he was in La Crosse, so.
Yes, what was his last name? Do you remember?
Gustafson.
Okay.
But Gus was up at New Glarus. They lived upstairs, you know, in the New Glarus depot. A lot of them did. South Wayne did, and quite a few lived in the depot.
Was there room and board here?
Not here, not that I know of. No, no. Herbie Rip lived pretty close to here, though. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm about out of tape here. Let's cut this off. Thanks a lot, Jack.
Okay.
You said there was a wall here?
Yeah, there was a wall right here, Tom.
What was the wall for?
Well, beyond that was, no, there was something here. I can't remember what the heck. See, I can't remember this being this big.
But the train crews would come in and register at the window here
Yeah.
with the
Right there was a register.
with the agent.
Yeah. If you went up to the New Glarus branch, you registered. Oh, yeah.
Dispatching. How long was the telegraph operator here?
Well, they took them out in the 70s. I can almost tell you. Yeah, it was in the early 70s when they took them out of here. And then Janesville handled all the what's called to Judah.
Okay.
And then, of course, you had an agent at Monroe.